Hello, and welcome back to another edition of Hobby News Daily. I'm still Danny Black, but today I'm joined by Les Wolff from Les Wolff Sports, and really an expert in memorabilia and autographs uh, for many years now. I'll let him answer how many exactly. But Les, thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Danny.
So one of the things that I know is that you started very young. That this was not a Johnny come lately business
Not
for
at
you.
all.
Can
Well,
you talk about when you actually started in that process and how you got into it?
actually, I started when I was 6 years old. I was collecting newspapers when the Yankees won. I used to hide them in the hallway. And my parents, we lived in an apartment building underneath a radiator in the hall until one day, the couple months later, the porter or the super found it and threw them out. So that's what got me started.
Uh, I being a Baltimore Oriole fan, I paid that guy actually.
Which guy?
Uh, no, I'm kidding. Um, so you started at 6 years old with newspapers. When did you actually move into sports autographs and memorabilia?
I started as everybody else in the industry. Basically, I started out with cards. As I can see, you got some nice ones on the wall there. Um, so I started out with cards. Um, that I started in the early '60s, '59 actually. So when I started with the newspapers, then I did the cards. I continued to do the cards. Then all my friends used to go to the Jet practices in '68, '69 season, and I thought it was kind of stupid to get someone's autograph. That time I was collecting stamps and coins also. And I went down one time and I had been a Giant fan. I met Namath in the Jet team. I said, "What kind of hobby is this? You can actually meet the athletes, talk to them, get their autographs, and become friends with them." So I became a Jet fan instantly because of meeting Namath, which I still regret because I've only won one title.
Yeah,
Um, and
unfortunately, it was over my Colts, but yeah.
well, we had to beat somebody. So like I started there, and then that kind of catapulted me into collecting, going to hotels and stadiums and getting everybody's autograph. And what kind of, as a kid, you're meeting your heroes, you're meeting all these athletes. It's a great time. It's great.
A lot of people have waited for autographs and tried that, but you've actually formed relationships with these athletes over the years. I know Muhammad Ali and others. Can you talk about first of all the athletes that you've had relationships or have relationships with? But how did you actually foster and nurture that relationship?
That's a good question. That's one that I haven't been asked that often. As far as Muhammad, I met him right after he lost to Joe Frazier, had his jaw broken. Had my picture in the newspaper. And I started meeting him again afterwards for years and became friends with him. What I would do is I would trade with him either photos or autographs. He was a big Sugar Ray Robinson fan. That was one of his idols. So I traded with him one time. Sugar Ray Robinson autograph, got him to sign a couple of things, Cassius Clay for me. Became friends with him in '96. I actually did a TNT special with him and Howard Bingham with my memorabilia. And we had a relationship up till when he passed away, and when the Parkinson's really hit hard. Um, Mantle I had a relationship with. He was a little more difficult to be friendly with, but he knew me. Basically, the way I cultivated most of my relationships, believe it or not, whenever I go down, and I still to this day, when I meet an athlete, I always try to have unusual photos. And what I always do is offer them some of the photos if they want any of them. This way, they don't feel like I'm just, getting them signed and selling them. And I let them know that I'm a big collector. I let them know my collection, and I talk to them. A lot of these athletes nowadays, they're not as friendly as they used to be. I mean, Brooks Robinson was amazing. Even though I'm a Yankee fan, I got to say Brooks was a Hall of Fame signer and a person all through his entire life. Uh, I still maintain a relationship with Dusty Baker. Some of these athletes, when they first came to New York, did not know how to get to the stadiums, whether it be Yankee Stadium or Shea Stadium. And I was a teenager, and I knew my way around the city, so I would take them on the train, and I built a relationship. And a funny one is Ron Hunt. I hope he's feeling better now. He's had a rough afterlife with health issues, but he remember if anybody remembers, he was the leading batter to get hit by pitches, and he wasn't afraid of anything. I took him on the train with a couple of the Expos at the time when he was on the Expos, and he was scared shitless. And years later, I used to bump into him at the bat dinner, baseball assistants team dinner,
Sure.
and Hunt would, I'd say, "Hey, Ron, how you doing? Want to go on a train ride?" No, no, no. Once was enough. That's it. I'm done. Here's a guy that would take a 100-mile-an-hour fastball to the head or any part of his body. He was fearless, but when it came to going on a train, he couldn't handle it.
You mentioned baseball assistants team dinner. Bat does a lot to support a lot of players and stuff. After, is that one of the ways and one of the involvements that keeps you connected to alumni and
Well, they used to have that huge dinner in New York. Yes, it used to be, but they don't really have that much of a dinner anymore. At that time, they used to have like 50, 60 players there. And
gotcha?
I used to, I was friendly with, may he rest in peace, Phil Linz, Oscar Gamble. I mean, basically from, believe it or not, just giving them pictures and friendly, getting them to stadiums and stuff. I became friends with them.
I'll plead a little bit of ignorance here. How many pictures do you keep on hand, or do you seek out pictures if you know you're going to see somebody?
Well, I have my son combs the internet
Okay,
and he finds photos and or I personally like the unusual photos. Years ago, famous collector Greg Tucker used to print up the first color photos back in the '70s, the early '70s. So that's where you get my photos from. Then George Brace, who's a famous photographer, McCarthy. I used to, get those Mel Bailey, um, Ray Botel. So I used to get them directly from the photographers. And a lot of these players, most of the time, never saw the pictures before, and that is happy as heck to get the pictures.
well, they certainly didn't have social media.
Back then, no, they did not.
Yeah. uh, when did you see a change in the hobby? Because there was a point where you could have a couple bucks and stretch it at a show and really buy a couple things, and now it's really the prices are astronomical, even in the 30 years I've been doing it. I've never seen anything
I
like.
would say in the '80s is when it really started to kick in a lot more. That people were able to sell it. I mean, I only started selling my duplicates to be able to afford my addiction. I didn't start out as a dealer. I was kind of forced to. I lived in the projects in Queens. I was in a double fare zone, which means I had to pay for a train to get to the bus. So I had two fares and two fares to get back. So that I needed money to afford that plus the pictures.
And is that how you got to be a dealer?
Basically, yeah.
And so how many shows do you do a year now? Because I know you were at the National.
I do the national. I love Jimmy Ryan and JPRS hit Jimmy and Brian. I do their shows at Hofstra because it's kind of local. I do a couple of boxing shows, one for the International Boxing Hall of Fame, that's up in Canastota, and the Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame, that's in Atlantic City, and the National. So I do maybe 3, 4 shows. So it's like 4 shows, but I do a couple of them at Hofstra.
How do you separate what you keep for you and what you sell?
That's a good question. When I first started becoming a full-time dealer, which besides a collector, another dealer told me what you have to do is you have to put a Chinese wall up, what you keep and what you sell. If you go over that wall, you're never going to make any money. So I've got varied collections that I still keep. I have every Yellow Hall of Fame plaque. I'm just waiting for the new guys and Jeter to finally sign them. I collect all the Heisman Trophy winners. For years, I was able to get
Okay.
them in a Heisman book. Books that I work on. I have all different books. So I have every Heisman Trophy winner on something. I have every heavyweight champion from John L. Sullivan to present, including the different alphabets,
Wow.
WBA, WBO. I just recently got Zahawi Zhang the Chinese champion. Great guy. Hardly spoke English, but was terrific. My friend
Okay.
actually trained him, so watched him train. Really nice guy. Um, so that boxing Hall of Famers I collect, baseball Hall of Famers I collect, but going way back, it just got to be too cost prohibitive. But I have, like I said, the yellow plaque cards, a couple of collections I built up of all the black and whites, which out there, if anybody's looking to collect them, don't, because you're gonna hit like the Eddie Collinses and the Grover Cleveland Alexanders that are virtually impossible to find. The Babe Ruths, there's a couple out there that I must have sold one of them a couple of times. Actually, I had three different ones. I sold them back a couple of times, so they are out there.
What's the most popular, and I say popular in two different ways. What's the most common, and what's the most sought after item to have autographed? Is it a ball? Is it a picture? Is it a program?
For me as a collector, I used to always I love photos.
Okay.
But the most popular thing and best investment actually is a baseball.
Really?
Yeah,
Just for the consistency, just for the display ability, or
both that. I also after we had the a Hurricane Sandy here, I've been compiling data on how to protect and preserve memorabilia,
okay.
and various different things. And because of that, I copywrote a lecture that I do also at libraries, and I did one at the National a couple of years ago where I teach you how to properly collect, invest, protect, and preserve memorabilia. So that's one thing. But the real thing is I try to keep in the genres of what I like. What I've always been collecting. Once in a while, I'll collect something. I'll get if I see something, I'll upgrade what I have in my collection. But I try not to vary into it, further.
You sort of tiptoed to where I was headed on my next question. For somebody who hasn't been doing this since 1959, what are some good general tips for the person who goes to a card show and gets an autograph? They might pick up a couple a year. Is there any rules they should follow? I know everybody,
As
has
far as what they should buy, and
how to protect it, how to take care of it, what they should look for.
well, as far as protecting it, obviously wear gloves when you get a baseball signed. You use an extra blue big fine point pen. Um,
Over blue fine point pen over a Sharpie.
on a baseball, absolutely. Sharpies are
Okay.
going to fade. I usually use a big extra fine point pen. I don't know you can see it there. Um, on a photo, I'll use a Stadler, a thin blue Stadler.
This is great.
Where are they? I have them here. They're a little hard to find. It's Staedtler, a Stadler pen. They also make silver and gold you could use. There's a special paint marker to get mini helmets signed. I don't know which one. I've had friends that have gotten it. I personally still use the blue, the silver Sharpie. But let me see. Here's one that this is a great pen for helmets and footballs. Recollections. They make them in silver and in gold. These come out
Okay.
pretty good. But as with anything else, you got to let the item dry. Don't
Sure.
immediately put anything on it. Um, Either put it in a ball cube, UV protected ball cube. Keep it out of the sunlight. Keep the temperature between 68 and 72. Acid free non glare glass. Acid free matte. Stuff like that. Make sure you don't have extreme temperature variances in your house. The higher the temperature, make sure you don't smoke. All those things, believe it or not, have a major factor on your collections. Because I've bought collections. I had a guy in Connecticut about 20 years ago, longer, had a massive collection of Hall of Fame plaque cards, photos, but he smoked, lived on a sixth floor of a high-rise apartment building, and he had no air conditioning.
Oh,
So that for years I kept him. There was like Hall of Fame plaque cards that were stuck together. They were stuck to the plastic sheets. I estimate his collection was probably worth about 10 times more than what I paid for it. But unfortunately, his collection was nearly completely destroyed.
oh yeah. That just hurts.
Yeah, I mean, it's a killer. I mean, I said to myself, I love to buy, spend more money with your collection, but unfortunately, you didn't take care of it. And I pointed it out and I showed him, so
Yeah.
it's tough.
How often are you actively buying collections?
Yes, every time my wife and my kids say to me, when are you going to stop? I can't. It's an addiction. It really is.
What's your favorite outside of the collections you keep? Do you have a favorite thing that you like to have in inventory? Do you like to be? I mean, I know boxing's big for you, but is there stuff that you like to be known for in your inventory?
Um, Actually, yes, a diverse inventory. I have stuff in all sports. I have celebrity and presidential also. So I try to always keep Ruth and Garrick in my inventory. Of course, Mantle is one of my idols. So I've got a huge Mantle collection. Um,
By the way, I love that you casually say keep a Ruth and Gehrig in the collection. And
well, in inventory itself. Well, and I tell most people, you can always pay installments. I mean, I
right,
think that's what I have. I help people out by providing them installment payments if they want any stuff. I have some people that do that on a regular basis. But in any staple collection, um, what I tell them, if you can't afford a beautiful autograph, let's say a Babe Ruth, get whatever you can afford. One day you sell that, and then when you sell that, you can gradually build up to a better item. Because I've done that myself.
is there a category that's good to get started? Is it Hall of Famers? Is that just kind of a good rule of thumb?
What I try to tell people is collect what you like. You're in Baltimore. You go to the Oriole games. I'm sure Cal Ripken was one of your favorites. So collect his stuff. Collect some of his stuff, or collect the years when the team won, and collect the ticket stub that you went to that game. You never know. I mean, I went to one game and Bob Moose threw a no hitter. Then I couldn't make. My father-in-law gave me tickets for myself and the kids. We were supposed to go to David Cohn's perfect game. So I had the tickets. I got them autographed, even though I couldn't make it. So I was able to. So you never know what things are going to be worth. Also, unfortunately, now tickets they don't. It's everything's on your phone now. So
Yes, I keep the only tickets I've ever kept. I keep on the wall, and
what is
you
that?
know, it's the '93 All Star Game at Oriole Park. But
Mhm.
the background forms a picture. If you happen to have four consecutive seats that line up, there's a picture. So it makes a nice frame piece.
Make sure acid-free mat, non-glare glass, keep it out of sunlight, LED lighting, all that good stuff.
All,
Otherwise, it's
all,
going to get
all,
ruined.
all of the above, Les. I wouldn't have you on here and risk showing anything else. Uh, so you've been doing this for a long time. Who have you missed out on? Is there anybody that's gone slipped through the hourglass on you?
My number one on my bucket list is to finally get Jordan. I've had him 3 times one-on-one.
You mean in person, right?
Person, yes.
Yeah.
He's number one on my bucket list.
Okay.
I never went for, but I heard he's difficult as Tom Brady. So eventually I will go for him. But Jordan is by far number one because basketball is one of my favorite sports. And it's another thing I collect. I went from the NBA 50. I just completed the NBA 75 set now. So I have everybody in the NBA 75 on a signed card
Oh, that's
encapsulated.
awesome.
I also have every 500 home run hitter encapsulated on signed cards, including a Ruth safe at home card signed.
Oh, I'm a Jimmy Fox partial to him out of the 500 home run club, but I'm a Maryland loyalist, true and true.
I've got a nice 8x10 of him catching that I
Do
have
you?
JSA non-personalized that's for sale if you're interested.
Well, we might have to talk about those payment plans you mentioned.
Yep. That's
Yeah,
he's very tough on a photo actually.
he's the little bit I looked into it showed me that I'm not ready to buy it just quite yet.
I think,
Um,
I think if you follow me on Instagram, I think I've posted it in one something about Jimmy Fox. I'm just going through my Instagram posts. I have so many of them that I post every day, and I use my memorabilia to help facilitate that day what happened in sports.
Yeah, no, Maryland's got a little bit of a sleeper list of guys, and
I don't think
I'll,
Babe Ruth is a sleeper.
well, thank you, but I always hang around New Yorkers. All my friends seem to be New Yorkers, so I have an inferiority complex because of course, where does Babe end up?
That's because they couldn't afford him.
Well, the Baltimore News Babe Ruth has special appeal to me because it's the only card with him in the Baltimore uniform.
Hmm.
Now, the Ruth autographs, what are they typically on? Are they cuts or
Believe it or not, years ago, the hardest thing to sell was a Babe Ruth cut.
really?
But now, Babe Ruth cuts are more popular than photos. I have them on an 8x10 photo, and I have them on a ball, a 28 Yankee ball that I'm selling with Garrick. But more people want them on cuts now than they do on photos.
Is that because they're making their own art piece out of it?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Or they make
Um,
their car, they put the car, you see all these companies now. And for a while, I was the main supplier for Upper Deck and Tops for putting
that's
the cuts on the cards.
um, what I mean, is there a value difference? I don't want to make an assumption here, but is a cut less than a picture?
It used to be, but not anymore. Now everybody's getting them slabbed and graded. The big thing now, it's because the cards have gotten skyrocketed with the grading, is getting the autographs graded.
I know you believe in autograph authentication, but talk to me about the grading of the autographs. How do you feel about that? Or and should people trust in the authentication world if they're looking to buy?
Um, Obviously Jimmy Spence, the,
Sure,
the
JSA, yeah,
the grandfather of authentication. Um, I mean, Steve Grad is good over at Beckett. PSA, you have Kevin Keating, and you have Bill Corcoran there. So you've got a lot of great authenticators out there. But the main thing is you need to know the autographs yourself. Also, you can't you get them authenticated. It's just their opinion. But if you get it in person and these authenticators tell you it's not real, then you got to fight with them and let them know.
interesting. How often do you get caught by surprise on a fake or let me rephrase it? Did you used to get fooled more, or has that changed?
Um,
Because we've all made one mistake. I don't know,
I've made plenty of mistakes. The problem is there's still some great forgers out there, and for example, a lot of people didn't know this back in the day. Joe DiMaggio used to answer all his mail till 1 year. His sister signed to sign in the DiMaggio's, and at the end of the O in DiMaggio, she'd put a loop on it. So
Huh.
we'd go down to the hotel, and DiMaggio came in for Yankee Old Timers, and we told him, hey, you're not signing your mail anymore. Your sister said he got very annoyed, and he started signing everything that we had there that day, but he didn't even know. And Willie Mays had, I think, his wife or some a ghost friend signing his stuff in the mail also. So there is, you got to be careful. The ghost, and only recently, Jimmy Spence in the last few years realized that Red Faber's wife was signing a lot of his stuff, so a lot of his
Wow.
stuff wasn't authentic. So there's still a lot of, you got to be careful.
And then I want to be careful because there's I think people who purposely try to fake something, and then there's the situations where you talk about where it's somebody who was either assigned to sign for them or just did because it was a family member. But the one thing that I think people underestimate are clubhouse signatures and clubbies. Um, for a lot of players, years were signed by clubhouse attendants. I mean, can you talk about that a little bit? Do the clubhouse attendants just open the mail and just deal with it all?
Well, a lot of times because of the overflow of mail, a lot of this stuff was signed by the clubhouse. For example, the Dodger teams in the 50s, I forgot the club out the bat boy that was signing them. But if you see Robinson, Erskine, and Hodges on one panel, they were all, that would be a telltale sign that it was done by the clubhouse.
Okay. Um, well, we are on the home stretch here, but I wanted to let everybody know on Instagram they can find you at Les Wolff.
Mm-hmm. Les,
And
at Les Wolff Sports, yes,
yes, I'm sorry, at Les Wolff Sports. And your website is leswolfsportsllc.com. And
right.
they
And I'm also on eBay with autographs, sports autographs, SportzAutographz.
fantastic. Well, Les, I really appreciate your time today. I
My,
got to be
my
honest.
pleasure.
Yeah, I got to be honest. Learning about the different types of inks, and what to get on each item was fascinating. I've got two 12-year-old boys who like to get a lot of autographs,
We
and
have twins.
yeah, I do. They're 2 weeks from their bar mitzvah, so
Well, Mazel Tov.
thank you, thank
I
you.
just sent you on through Instagram the fox that I'm selling. It's beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Well, right after I cover the bar mitzvah, I'll be in touch.
Yeah, no problem. If anybody has any questions or anything, just let me know.
Absolutely. And as far as
If you want to do this on a more regular basis, I'm available also. I'm still
I might take you up on that, because from what I learned in a couple minutes today, I could easily do a couple hours with you. So thank you very much.
my pleasure.
All right, Les, to you and to everybody else out there, thank you very much.
Thank you. Stay well. Take care.
Take care.
Thanks.